environment where your spirit rests, where your family gathers, and where your heart should find peace. But have you noticed how sometimes you walk into a room and immediately feel heavy or anxious or perhaps even restless? Without being able to explain why, that isn't coincidence. One of the most powerful, yet often overlooked influences in a home is color. Yes, the very colors on your walls, your furniture, even your curtains, can shape your mood and atmosphere in ways you may not even realize. Think about it for a moment. Why do hospitals often use soft blues and greens? It's because those colors calm the mind, lower stress, and create a sense of stability. Why do restaurants tend to use rich reds, oranges, and yellows? Because those colors stir up appetite and energy. Color speaks without words, and it speaks to our emotions directly. Now, imagine what happens when the wrong color fills your living room, your bedroom, your sacred spaces at home. Instead of rest, you may find yourself tense. Instead of joy, you may feel drained. And all the while, you may not even know that the culprit is as simple as the paint on your walls. We often underestimate how deeply God has wired us to respond to creation. Just as the rising sun fills us with hope and the soft glow of evening settles us down, colors in our home carry the same effect. A bright, cheerful color can lift your spirit after a hard day. A warm, earthy tone can anchor your family with a sense of togetherness. But a harsh, heavy, or unsettling shade can shift the whole atmosphere. It can make conversations shorter, tempers quicker, and sleep harder to find. And here is the important truth: your home should be your sanctuary, a place where your soul finds renewal. The atmosphere of your home can either carry you toward peace or keep you stuck in frustration. When you choose colors without thought, you may accidentally invite stress into the very place where you long for rest. But when you choose with wisdom, you create a space that aligns with the peace of God, a space where love grows freely and laughter comes easily. I have seen people struggle in their own homes, not knowing why they never feel fully settled. They rearrange furniture, buy new decorations, even move houses, yet the tension remains. Sometimes the answer is much simpler than they think. It's the invisible voice of color working in the background, shaping the atmosphere day after day. So when we talk about the one color you should never use in your home, understand that this isn't a matter of decoration alone. It's a matter of how you want your spirit and your family to flourish. Because every color either lifts you higher or weighs you down, and you cannot afford to overlook the impact it carries. That is why I tell you today, color shapes mood and energy. When we think about color, most of us imagine it as something purely visual, something that pleases the eyes. But the truth is, color goes much deeper than sight. It speaks directly to our minds, to our emotions, even to our bodies. This is why scientists have studied what is called color psychology for decades. And what they have discovered confirms what Scripture has shown us all along, that what surrounds us has the power to shape what stirs within us. You see, God designed our senses to be gateways, and through them, the world around us can influence the world inside of us. For example, studies have shown that certain colors can raise your heart rate, increase your blood pressure, or even disrupt your sleep cycle. Bright, aggressive shades can make you restless, while softer, muted tones can lower your stress and bring calm. Imagine sitting in a room filled with fiery red walls. Your mind feels more alert, your body more on edge, and after a while, you may even feel irritable without knowing why. Now, compare that to sitting in a room painted with soft greens or pale blues. You can breathe more deeply. You feel your shoulders drop, and suddenly you're at ease. That isn't imagination. That is the measurable effect of color on the human nervous system. But this isn't only about science, it's about the soul. When your mind is unsettled, your spirit feels it. When your body is restless, your prayers are distracted, your focus is weakened, and your relationships are strained. This is why color isn't just about taste or style. It is about creating an atmosphere that allows peace, clarity, and love to flow unhindered. God did not create the rainbow to be meaningless decoration in the sky. He gave each hue a resonance, a way of speaking, a way of affecting the heart. Think of how Jesus often taught using nature itself as his classroom. He spoke of lilies, sparrows, fields, and seeds, ordinary things that carried extraordinary truths. In the same way, the colors in your home are not just decoration. They are seeds sown into the atmosphere, and sooner or later, you will reap what they produce. A restless color will yield a restless spirit. A calming color will yield a peaceful spirit. Now, let me be clear, not every color is harmful. Many carry life, vibrancy, and hope. But there are colors that consistently disturb rather than restore, that agitate rather than comfort. And those are the ones we must be most careful about. The science confirms what we feel intuitively: the wrong color, even if it looks fashionable or trendy, can slowly erode the peace of your household. And if your home loses its peace, it loses its power to refresh you for the battles outside its doors. So hear this: the colors you live with are not neutral. They are active forces shaping your mind, your emotions, your energy, and even your relationships. That is the power of the science of color psychology. Up to this point, I have shown you how color shapes your mood and energy, and how science itself proves the deep effect it has on our minds, our bodies, and even our spirits. But now comes the question that has been building in your heart: what is the one color you should never use in your home? Which shade carries such a disruptive influence that it robs your sanctuary of the peace it is meant to hold? Before I reveal it, I want you to understand why it carries such a strong impact, because if you grasp the reason, you will never forget the lesson. There are colors that elevate, colors that inspire, colors that bring life. But there is one color that has consistently been associated with heaviness, gloom, and even depression. A color that swallows up light, that makes a room feel smaller, colder, and more closed in than it truly is. Psychologists have observed it, designers have noted it, and people who live with it often cannot fully explain why they feel uneasy or burdened in its presence. But the results are undeniable. This color does not lift you, it weighs you down. It does not inspire conversation, it silences it. It does not brighten your spirit, it dulls it. And that color, dear friends, is black. Not a touch of black, not the accent of black in a frame, a lamp, or a piece of furniture. Those can add elegance and strength when used sparingly. I am speaking of black as the dominant color in your home, black covering the walls, black overtaking the room, black stealing the light. When black moves from accent to atmosphere, it shifts the entire energy of your home. Instead of reflecting warmth, it absorbs it. Instead of inviting joy, it suffocates it. I have walked into homes where the living room was painted in dark, heavy black, and immediately the air felt tense. Smiles were shorter, conversations were strained, and the spirit of the house seemed burdened. Children in such environments often become restless. Couples find themselves irritable without knowing why. It is not because they are bad people, but because their surroundings are silently speaking a negative message into their souls every day. Now, someone may ask, but isn't black stylish? Isn't it modern? Doesn't it make a bold statement? And yes, in certain design trends, it looks sleek. But you are not designing for a magazine photo. You are designing for your life, for your family, for the atmosphere in which your spirit needs to rest. A stylish room that steals your peace is far too expensive a price to pay. What looks bold on the surface often leaves emptiness beneath it. So when I tell you there is one color you should never use in your home, understand that this is not about rules of decoration. It is about spiritual wisdom, about creating an environment where light, life, and love can flourish. Because when black dominates your home, it dominates your spirit as well. And that is not the will of God for your sanctuary. And so I say to you now, the one color you should never use in your home is black. It is one thing to talk about theories and research, but it is another to see with your own eyes how this plays out in real life. The power of color is not just an idea. It is something people experience every single day without realizing what is happening to them. Let me share with you what happens when black, that heavy and draining color, takes over the atmosphere of a home. I once visited a house where the family had painted their entire living room black because they thought it was fashionable. When I stepped inside, the first thing I noticed was not the furniture or the decorations, but the heaviness in the air. The room had large windows, yet somehow the space still felt closed in, almost suffocating. Instead of sunlight bouncing around the walls and filling the place with warmth, it was as though the light was swallowed, leaving the atmosphere heavy and dull. The family admitted that they rarely sat together in that room because no one felt comfortable there. They would retreat to their bedrooms or spend more time outside just to escape the uneasiness. The very room meant to bring them together as a family was pushing them apart. Another time, I met a young couple who had chosen black for their bedroom walls because they thought it would feel sleek and intimate. But instead of intimacy, they found themselves restless, their sleep shallow and broken. The very space that should have been filled with peace and renewal became a place of tension. They began to argue more, and their patience with each other grew thinner. They couldn't understand why such a simple design choice seemed to affect them so deeply. But as soon as they repainted with lighter, softer tones, everything began to change. Their nights became restful again, their mornings calmer, and even their conversations softened. It was as if the room had taken a deep breath and finally allowed them to do the same. This is the real world impact of color. It can either amplify the light of your home or extinguish it. When black dominates, it does not just darken the walls. It casts a shadow over the spirit of the house. Children grow restless in such environments. Guests feel uncomfortable, though they cannot put their finger on why. Families drift into separate corners, drawn away from each other rather than pulled together in warmth. And slowly, day by day, the atmosphere of heaviness seeps into the people who live there, shaping moods, attitudes, and even relationships. I tell you these stories not to frighten you, but to help you understand that this is not simply a matter of taste. It is a matter of spiritual and emotional health. Your home is meant to be a refuge, a place where laughter comes easily and where burdens feel lighter. But when the wrong color dominates, even the strongest love can feel strained under its weight. And so I remind you, the real-world consequences of letting black rule your home are far too costly for your spirit, your family, and your peace. If black drains the life and light out of your home, then what should you choose instead? This is the question many people ask. They say, "Pastor, if one color brings heaviness, then what colors bring peace? What colors help my family feel safe, joyful, and at ease?" And the good news is, there are so many beautiful alternatives that can transform your home into the sanctuary it is meant to be. Think for a moment about the colors God has woven into creation. When you walk through a field, you see the gentle greens of grass and trees. When you look to the heavens, you see the calming blues of the sky. When the sun sets, you are surrounded by soft oranges, pinks, and golden tones that seem to whisper peace into your spirit. Nature itself teaches us that certain colors are designed to restore us, to lift us, and to fill us with life. That is why, when you bring these tones into your home, you invite the same sense of harmony and renewal that you feel when you step outside into God's creation. Greens, for example, carry the freshness of life. They remind us of growth, of stability, of restfulness. A living room with soft green walls or even green accents invites relaxation, encourages conversation, and makes people feel grounded. Blues bring calm, tranquility, and balance. A bedroom painted in gentle shades of blue becomes a place where your mind can quiet down and your body can rest deeply. Warm neutrals, soft beiges, creams, and light browns wrap around you like a comforting embrace, creating an atmosphere of safety and togetherness. Even touches of warm yellows can lift the spirit and add joy. Just as sunlight breaks through a cloudy day, it's not only about walls either. The colors in your furniture, your curtains, your decor, even the artwork you choose, all work together to create an atmosphere. A space filled with lighter, more uplifting colors feels open, welcoming, and alive. These colors reflect light rather than swallowing it, and they encourage your heart to do the same. Reflect hope, reflect joy, reflect peace. But beyond what science and design tell us, I want you to see this from a spiritual perspective. God's will is not for you to live in darkness, but to walk in light. The very first words spoken in creation were, "Let there be light." When you choose colors that reflect that light, you are aligning your home with the heart of God. You are saying, this place belongs to peace. This place belongs to joy. This place belongs to the presence of God. And that is why your choice of colors is not trivial. It is a declaration of the kind of spirit you want to welcome into your home. So instead of allowing black to dominate your space, fill your home with colors that carry life, warmth, and blessing. Because the right colors do not just decorate your walls. They cultivate the atmosphere where love can grow. At the end of the day, my friends, your home is not just a physical structure. It is not merely a collection of furniture, paint, and decorations. Your home is the very environment where your heart is shaped, where your children's memories are formed, and where your spirit either finds renewal or feels burdened. This is why the choices you make in creating that environment carry far more weight than you might realize. It is not about impressing visitors or keeping up with trends. It is about building a sanctuary, a place where your soul can breathe, where your family can thrive, and where peace has permission to reign. When you walk through your front door, you should not feel tension or heaviness. You should not feel the world's burdens pressing harder on you inside your own walls. No, your home should be the place where you exhale, where you feel safe, where every corner whispers rest. But this kind of atmosphere does not happen by accident. It is cultivated, it is chosen, it is created with intention. And yes, even with something as simple as the colors you allow to surround you. Think about how much time you and your loved ones spend at home. Children grow up in these rooms, marriages are lived out within these walls. Prayers are whispered in quiet corners, and laughter is shared around the table. Every moment is being shaped by the atmosphere. If that atmosphere is filled with light, warmth, and peace, it becomes a place where hearts are strengthened and joy overflows. But if that atmosphere is dominated by heaviness, darkness, or unease, then slowly it begins to drain the very people it was meant to shelter. That is why we must be wise. We must remember that what surrounds us also speaks into us. Your home is more than where you sleep. It is where you recover from life's battles. It is where you prepare your spirit for tomorrow's challenges. And if the atmosphere of your home is aligned with peace, you will rise each day refreshed, renewed, and ready. But if the atmosphere is filled with weight and unrest, you will step into each day already tired. So I urge you, treat your home as a holy place. Be intentional with the colors you choose, the light you welcome, and the spirit you cultivate. Do not simply settle for what looks fashionable. Choose what brings life. Do not simply choose what pleases the eye for a moment. Choose what blesses the soul for years to come. Your home is your sanctuary, and sanctuaries are meant to be filled with light, filled with peace and filled with the presence of God. And this, dear friends, is the final truth I want you to carry in your heart. Your home should always be the place where peace lives.